"This is my stepsister. She just answers phones." Vanessa said it into a live microphone, the way you'd point out a crack in a ceiling you keep meaning to patch. 120 guests at Hollybrook Manor. A waiter stopped mid-pour, and my father laughed first. Not the nervous kind of laugh, the real kind. The one that comes up out of a man's chest when he agrees with what was just said. I was standing there in a $42 dress in a room where women were wearing earrings worth more than my car. And I did what I have done my entire life. I swallowed it. Here is what nobody at that table knew. The man sitting at the head table, the man paying for every flower and every glass in that room, had spent 51 minutes 3 years ago pinned inside an overturned truck with cold water climbing past his chest. He never saw my face. He never learned my name. But he had heard my voice for 51 minutes straight. And in about 4 hours he was going to hear it again. Before I go on, if any part of this sounds like your family, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, but only if it's actually true for you. And tell me one thing down in the comments. What time is it where you're listening from? I read them. All of them. Let me take you back 3 weeks. To the Tuesday the invitation showed up. It came wedged between a water bill and a catalog I never signed up for. Heavy cream paper. Gold monogram. A V and a W pressed into the stock so deep you could feel it with your thumb. I stood in my kitchen in scrubs that still smelled like the console room, and I read my own name. Rochelle. Not Rachel. Rochelle. 34 years. And my stepsister had never once gotten it right. And nobody in that family had ever corrected her. There was no +1. I set the invitation on the counter next to my shift calendar, and I looked at it the way you look at a court summons, because that is what it was. Vanessa didn't want a sister at that wedding. She wanted me accounted for. There is a difference, and I had learned it early. My mother left when I was 6. She did not die, which people find harder to sit with, because death gives you somewhere to put the feeling and leaving does not. My grandmother Nell raised me after that in a narrow house on Mercer Street with a porch light she never turned off. Not once. I'd ask her why, and she'd say the same thing every time. Don't watch the road, Rachel. Watch for the porch light. That's the whole trick. Then my father married Diane, and Diane came with a daughter, and the architecture of the house changed in about a week. Vanessa got the front bedroom with the wallpaper she picked herself and a set of matching frames going up the staircase wall, one for every school year. I got the back room off the kitchen, the one that had been storing paint cans and a broken sewing machine. My bed was a folding cot with a bar that ran under my spine. My school pictures went into a drawer in the hall table. I know they went there because I put them there myself. After the 3rd year of waiting for someone else to. At church, at parties, at my father's work, picnics, Diane would put a hand on Vanessa's shoulder and say, "This is our daughter." Then she'd look at me and say, "And that's Ray's girl, from before," like I was weather that had already passed through. And my father let it happen. Every time. He is not a cruel man, and that is the part that took me 20 years to understand. Cruelty you can name. What he did has no name. He just stood slightly to the left of every room I was being pushed out of, holding his drink, waiting for it to be over. I called him every Sunday for years. He would pick up, say, "Hey, Rach, talk for 90 seconds, then tell me he'd call me right back." He never called me right back. 3 months could go by. And when I gave up and dialed again, he'd answer like no time had passed at all, like I was not somebody a person keeps track of. So when the invitation came with my name spelled wrong and no seat for anyone beside me, I picked it up and I held it over the trash can. Then my phone rang. It was him. And my father only ever calls me when Vanessa needs something. "She's asking for you," my father said. He had the voice on, the warm one he keeps for when somebody else is standing in the kitchen. It would mean a lot to her. I said I would go. Then I hung up, put on my jacket, and drove to work. Because it was a Tuesday, and Tuesdays I ride the night desk. Here is what my job actually looks like, since nobody in my family has ever asked. Chester County Emergency Communications sits in a low brick building behind a salt shed, and the room has no windows on purpose. 6 screens, 1 earpiece in the right ear so the left ear stays free for the floor. A headset cord long enough to reach the printer and not 1 inch longer. Coffee that goes cold in 11 minutes because the air handling in there is set for the servers, not for us. Console for 9 years. My badge number is 4417, and for most of the people I have talked to in this county, that number is the only thing about me that exists. The first rule they teach you is not about medicine or fire or law, it's about your voice. Whatever is happening on the other end of that line, your voice does not go up, not in pitch, not in speed, not in volume. Because the person calling you has already lost control of everything else in their life, and the only stable object left in their world is the sound coming out of your mouth. You are not allowed to shake. You can shake at 4 a.m. in your car, not on the line. I have talked a woman through her husband, choking in a restaurant parking lot. I counted for her, out loud, over and over, while she did what I told her to do. And on the 9th count, it came up, and he started swearing at her, which is how you know somebody is going to live. And I have lost calls. There was a young man, 20 years old, who called me at 2:40 in the morning because his father had stopped breathing on the bathroom floor. I gave him the compressions count. He followed it. He did everything right. And somewhere around mine at 9, his counting started drifting out of time with mine, and then it stopped, and he said real quiet, like he was apologizing to me, "I think he's gone." That was 4 years ago. I still know his voice. I would know it in a grocery store. That is the part of this job nobody puts in the brochure. You don't carry faces home. You carry voices. Louise Ferraro has run this center for 27 years, and she is the only person in my life who has never once gotten my name wrong. She put me up for the county commendation 2 years back, and I got it. There is a wooden plaque with my name on it, spelled right, in my locker at work. It has never been in my apartment. I tried to tell my family about it exactly 1 time. Thanksgiving, passing the rolls. Vanessa tilted her head and did that little smile of hers. "That's cute," she said. "They give out awards for answering the phone." Diane laughed from the sink. My father cut his turkey. And that was the last time I brought my work into that house. There is 1 call I have never told anybody about, not even Louise, and it happened 3 years ago on the 9th of February during an ice storm. 51 minutes. I'll get to it. I have to get to it. Because that call is the reason you're listening to this story at all. That night, before the wedding. Louise stopped behind my chair on her way to the break room and asked if I was really going to this thing. I said I was. She looked at the screens for a second, then back at me. "Bring your voice with you," she said. I laughed. I thought she was being funny. The engagement brunch was at the Prescott place on Sawmill Road, a stone farmhouse somebody had spent a lot of money making look like nobody had spent money on it. 4 acres. Hedges cut so evenly they looked drawn. I parked my 2011 Subaru between 2 German sedans and sat with my hands on the wheel for a full minute, telling myself it was one afternoon. Inside it smelled like cut lilac and old wood. Vanessa had installed herself in the center of the front room, one hand on Wesley's forearm, laughing at something Margaret Prescott was saying, and she looked like she had been born standing exactly there. I needed a restroom. A woman with a tray pointed me down a hallway, and I went past a door standing open, and the wall inside that room stopped me. Bookshelves, a desk, framed things going all the way up, the way successful men frame things. Industry plaques. A photo of a work crew standing on a roof with the skyline behind them. But dead center, given more wall than anything else in the room, was a sheet of paper in a heavy black frame. It was a call transcript. I knew what it was from across the room, because I have generated about 13,000 of them. Columns of timestamps down the left. The caller's lines. The dispatcher's lines. Somebody had gone through and blacked out the name at the top, and what was left, in that flat county typeface, was this Console 4, PST 4417, and bolted to the wall next to the frame, at eye height, was an old porch light fixture. Brass, dented, the kind you buy at a hardware store for $11. There was a yellow bulb screwed into it. It was on. In the middle of the day, in a room with 3 windows, that bulb was burning. I looked at it. I want to be honest about this, because I have gone over it 100 times since. I looked straight at my own badge number on a stranger's wall, and I did not put it together. 13,000 calls a year. I have never once gone back and read a transcript of my own. You don't. You close the ticket and the next line comes in, and that's the whole job. That's the night I got my life back. He was behind me in the doorway. Gordon Prescott, 66, in a sweater instead of a jacket, holding a coffee cup instead of a drink. Not a big man, just a settled one. I said something. I don't remember what. Something polite. And then I opened my mouth to ask him about the bulb, because that was the part I actually wanted to know, and I got maybe 2 words out. There you are. Vanessa's hand closed on my elbow. She smiled at Gordon with her whole face and steered me out of that hallway like a shopping cart with a bad wheel. And she did not stop until we were through the kitchen and out on the patio. Don't corner people at their own house, she said. Out in the garden, under a pergola. The introductions happened. Vanessa moved through them like a press secretary. My mother, Diane, she ran her own event design company before she stepped back. Diane beamed. My stepfather, Ray. He's been in building materials over 20 years. My father shook Gordon's hand about 4 seconds too long. Then she turned to the next cluster of people. I was standing 3 feet away holding a glass of seltzer, and she turned her shoulder like I was a post holding up the roof. Margaret Prescott noticed. She stepped around her son and put out her hand. And who's this? Vanessa's smile tightened, just barely. The way a stitch pulls before it goes, "Oh, that's Rachel." Margaret kept looking at me. "What do you do, Rachel?" I got as far as the first syllable. She just answers phones. Vanessa said, light as anything, already turning. Margaret, come look at what the florist did with the ranunculus. You're going to lose your mind. And that was that. I was behind them again. On the way back through the house, I passed under an open window, and I heard Gordon's voice, low, talking to his son. That girl. She hasn't said a word, has she? Diane found me by the hydrangeas about 20 minutes later. She comes at you soft. That is her whole method. She has never raised her voice at me in 20 years. She closes like a door with good hinges, so gently that you don't notice you're on the outside of it until you try the handle. Honey, can I borrow you for a second? She walked me to a stone bench at the far end of the property, past where the string lights ended, down where the caterers had stacked the empty crates. It was the corner of the yard you put things in when you don't want them in the photographs. Vanessa is under so much pressure right now, she said, and she put her hand on my arm and left it there. You understand that, don't you? I looked at her hand. What are you asking me to do? Diane. She blinked. I watched her recalculate. She had come out here with a paragraph, and I had made her use a sentence. Sit, smile, don't talk. I have heard that arrangement before, in different packaging. At my college graduation, when my father came in during the second half and left before the D's because Diane had a headache. At his 60th, when I was asked to come early and slip out before the photographer got there, so the pictures would be just the immediate family. I have never once been the emergency in that family. I have always been the variable. I hear you, I said, and I did. Every word of it. I walked back around the side of the house toward the cars, and the kitchen window over the sink was cracked open, and Vanessa was in there on the phone with her back to it. No, she was saying, no, I told the Prescotts she isn't well. Extended leave. It's a whole thing, we don't get into it. They won't ask. There was a pause. Whoever was on the other end said something. Because it's simpler, Vanessa said. Trust me, nobody asks a follow-up question about that. I stood in the grass beside a boxwood in a 200-year-old farmhouse driveway holding my car keys, and I felt something in my chest move. Not break. Move. Like furniture getting pushed a few feet to the left in a room you thought was finished. She had not just left me out. She had written me. She had sat down at some point and decided what I was going to be in these people's heads, and she had picked something nobody would ever check, because nobody ever checks that one. That is the elegance of it. You tell them she isn't well, and every closed door after that looks like kindness. I called my father that night from my kitchen. No preamble. Did you know Vanessa told the Prescotts I have mental health problems? Silence on the line, long enough that I could hear his television. Then the sigh. I know that sigh. It's the one he does when he has been caught and would rather come off worn out than in the wrong. She's looking after how this family reads. Rachel, don't make this into a thing. Reads to who? Dad. Say the end of that sentence out loud. He started talking about the parking situation at the rehearsal dinner. Did you go along with it? I said. And there it was. The pause. My father has one move and he has used it on me since I was 9 years old, and it is not lying. He has never had to lie to me. He just declines to answer, and lets the silence sit there until I get tired and fill it in myself. I want you to understand what I understood, standing in my kitchen with the phone against my ear. He had not been fooled by her. He had volunteered. The rehearsal dinner was that Friday at Hollybrook Manor. 120 guests. Place cards in dark green ink with the letters done by hand. A string trio near the fireplace, playing things you know without knowing the names of. I got there 20 minutes early because I did not know what else to do with my hands. The seating chart was on an easel by the entrance in a gold frame, and I stood in front of it and found myself, Rochelle, table 12. Table 12 was against the wall by the kitchen doors, which is the loudest 6 feet in any banquet room in America. My table mates were a young woman named Nadia, one of the servers on her break, and an empty chair. Vanessa is thorough. Nothing about that night was an accident. I sat down and read the menu. See base. Any one of those plates cost more than what I clear in 2 shifts. Diane spotted me from across the room and did a scan, head to shoes, about 3 seconds. Then she leaned toward Vanessa and said something behind her hand. Vanessa looked over her shoulder at me. And I have known that face since I was 9, and I could read it from 40 feet. She's fine, meaning she's plain enough tonight. She won't be a problem. Vanessa took the microphone at 9 o'clock. The room went quiet the way rooms do when a bride picks up anything. She started with her mother. My mom, Diane, who taught me everything I know about grace under pressure. Diane put a hand flat on her chest like she was accepting an award. Then my father. My stepdad. Ray, the one man who ever actually showed up for me. His eyes went wet. He stood halfway up and raised his glass, and 120 people raised theirs back at him, and I watched him get something in that room that he has never once given me. Then her bridesmaids, her college roommate, her boss, every one of them a small coronation, aimed straight at the head table where the Prescotts were sitting, and then she turned toward the kitchen doors. And this, she said, she let it sit. The pause was rehearsed. I know it was rehearsed because I have known Vanessa for 25 years, and that woman has never left a silence to chance. This is my stepsister, Rachel. Another pause. A tilt of the head. A little apologetic smile. The kind you give when you're about to say something you consider generous. She just answers phones. Some laughter. And then, because she is not somebody who leaves a joke to stand on its own, She went further. Don't laugh. That's the official classification. It's clerical. That's the federal government, not me. Same category as secretaries and taxi dispatchers. Look it up. And here is the thing about that. It's true. You can look it up. In the Federal Occupational Catalog, the people who answer 911 in this country are filed under office and administrative support. Clerical. There's a bill in Congress that has been kicking around for years trying to move us into protective services, and it has not happened. So on the government's own paper, my sister was correct. She had found the one insult I could not argue with. My father laughed first. I want to be precise here, because it matters, and because I have replayed it enough times to be precise. He did not chuckle to be polite. He did not laugh a beat late the way you do when you're catching up to a joke. He went first, loud and out of his chest, and he put his hand on the table when he did it. Diane rolled her eyes and smirked into her wine, one corner of her mouth going up like a box had been checked. And then the room followed, because when the bride laughs, the room laughs. It isn't cruelty. It's reflex. 120 people looked at me for 3 seconds and then went back to their bread. I didn't cry. I didn't stand up. I didn't leave. I put my hands under the table and pressed my nails into my palms until I could feel the half moons, and I found out later, in the car, that I'd broken the skin on 2 of them. But one man at the head table was not laughing. Gordon Prescott had not touched his glass. He was sitting forward with his forearms on the tablecloth, and he was looking at me. And he was not looking at me the way the rest of them had for 3 seconds. He was looking the way you look at a word you know you've read somewhere. He leaned toward Wesley and said something. I read 5 words off his mouth. That girl. I know her. Then he frowned, shook his head slightly, sat back and let go of it, and I watched him do it. And I did not understand any of it until much later. He was overruling himself, because he had still never heard me speak. After the plates went out, a woman from Vanessa's office came over to table 12, cocktail rings on 3 fingers. So you're the stepsister, she said. What is it you do? Exactly. You sit there and transfer people I set down my fork. Last winter, a man called me from a car that was on fire on Route 30 with his seatbelt jammed. I stayed on the line with him 6 minutes. He's alive. So is his mother, who was in the passenger seat. Bridget's smile came apart in stages. She said something about finding her husband and left. Vanessa was at my shoulder within seconds. Nobody came here for your job, Rachel. I didn't answer. What sat there after the word alive was plenty. And across the room I saw Wesley watching his fiancée with a small crease between his eyebrows, which is where a question starts before a man knows how to ask it. An hour later she got me alone in the powder room. Marble, linen towels folded into fans, a door that closed with a very final sound. Listen to me, she said, and her voice had nothing in it. No performance. Flat and clean like a work order. Tomorrow is my wedding. You will sit. You will smile. You will say nothing. You do not talk to the Prescotts. I looked at her in the mirror instead of turning around. Why did you tell them I'm sick? Vanessa. She didn't flinch. And she didn't deny it. And to this day, that is the part I respect the most. In the way you respect a wolf, I gave them a version they could live with. You think those people take this family as is? A warehouse manager and a girl who answers phones? She said phones the way you'd say mold. So I'm supposed to act like I'm not in the building. No. She adjusted her bracelet. I'm telling you where you sit. Where you sit. 4 words. And the strange part is they weren't new. My family had been telling me where I sit for 20 years, in other formats, empty chairs, cropped photographs, a name spelled wrong on a card. Vanessa was just the first one to put it in a sentence with the door shut. I stood in there a long time after she left. I did not have a plan. People always assumed there was a plan. All I knew was that I was finished being quiet about any of it. The wedding was on the Prescott property the next afternoon. A tent the size of a barn. Flowers I could not name. Vanessa caught me in the gravel turnaround before I was 10 steps from my car. "Why are you early?" "Don't get in any photos unless I wave you in." She waved me in exactly one time. For the group shot. The photographer tucked me onto the end, mostly hidden by Diane. In every version Vanessa posted later, the frame stops at Diane. My seat was table 19, by the service entrance, where the servers come through with the trays balanced high. 2 of the 4 chairs were empty, guests who never showed. The tablecloth had a crease in it. The centerpiece had fewer stems than the ones out in the middle of the room, and I counted them, which tells you something about where my head was. Then Gordon Prescott worked his way back through the tables, thanking people for coming, and when he got to 19, he did not shake my hand. He took the chair across from me and sat. "3 years ago, I almost died about 4 miles from this spot," he said. He turned his glass on the cloth while he talked. "The 9th of February. Ice storm, the kind where the road looks wet and isn't. His truck went off the shoulder where the road crosses the culvert, rolled, and came to rest on the driver's side in 3 feet of water that was still rising because the culvert was already backed with ice. 51 minutes, he said. That's how long it took them to find me. Not to cut me out. To find me, the crew went to the wrong side of the ridge twice because I couldn't tell anybody where I was. I was upside down in the dark. There was a woman on the phone. He said, I never saw her. I don't know one thing about her. She stayed on that line the whole time and she would not let me stop talking. She made me describe my own porch light. Kept coming back to it. What color? How many watts? Who put it in? He laughed once, and it came out rough. I still have the bulb. He said, I want to tell you that I knew. Everyone always wants that part. I didn't. He said the road name the way people from around there say it, the county route number. And in my head that night is filed under sawmill, and under weather, and under a shift I worked 11 hours into. I take a call every 11 minutes on an average night. Faces I never get, roads blur worse. And I had been told by 2 different people not to talk. So I said, I'm glad they found you. That's all I said. 4 words and a nod. And then somebody called his name from across the tent and he stood up and put his hand on my shoulder for a second and went, Vanessa's reception speech was the best work she has ever done. She thanked Diane, my compass, the first friend I ever had. She thanked my father, my hero, the man who showed me what a father is supposed to be. She thanked the Prescotts, my new family, the people I've been looking for my whole life. She thanked the florist. She thanked the woman who runs the venue. By both names. She did not say my name, not once, not in passing, not as a joke, and nobody caught it. You cannot miss a person you never expected in the room. Wesley leaned over to her afterward. I heard it because I was walking past with a water glass. You didn't mention Rachel. Vanessa touched his cheek. She likes it that way. Trust me. I found my father out on the back terrace with a drink he had not paid for, looking at the garden. Dad. He turned, and there was that flicker. Recognition. And under it, the discomfort of a man who knows the next question is one he can't sidestep. She told them I was sick. I said, Did you ever ask why I might not be okay, ever one time, Rachel? It's her day. 4 years ago, a 20-year-old kid called me at 2 a.m. because his father was on the bathroom floor, I said. I gave him the count. He did everything right and it didn't work, and I heard him stop counting. I still know his voice. Dad, I hear it in the produce section. My father looked down at the boxwoods. That is his answer. It has always been his answer. Not a lie. Just the look away and the waiting, until I get tired and fill in the silence for him. "I'm done," I said. He flinched. "Not with the wedding." "With waiting for you to see me." I went out to the lot and sat in the Subaru with the engine off. My keychain has a little enamel headset charm on it, from Tessa, from my 5th year, and it caught the light off the pole. I called Louise. 2 rings and she was there. She always is. They said I just answer phones. I said. Louise didn't laugh and she didn't get warm about it, which is exactly why I called her instead of anyone else. "Rachel," she said, "you know what you do?" I sat there after she hung up with both hands on the wheel, and I said it out loud to the windshield, in my own voice, and it did not sound the same coming from me. "I just answer phones. I want to stop here 1 second, because some of you are sitting at a table like that one right now. If you have ever sat still in a room your whole body was begging you to walk out of, put it in the comments. What kept you in the chair?" I put my hand on the key, and I did not turn it. About 10 minutes later, somebody started screaming at the far end of the parking lot. Walter Prescott was 74 years old, Gordon's older brother. He had run a crane for that company for 31 years before his knees made the decision for him, and he had spent most of the reception telling people about it. He went down between 2 rows of parked cars, about 40 feet from where I was sitting. By the time I got there, 11 people were standing around him in formal wear, and not one of them was on the ground. Somebody was shouting for a doctor. A man in a gray suit had his phone out and was filming, and I want you to understand that I am not telling you that to make you angry. I am telling you because it happens on almost every scene, and it is the most ordinary thing in the world. Here is what came out of my mouth. I did not decide it. 9 years builds a track and the car goes down the track. Everybody take 1 step back. They did. That is the first thing. You give a crowd one job and they will take it, because standing there is unbearable and they are looking for somewhere to put their hands. Blue shirt, you go stand at the end of the driveway where it meets the road, and when you see the ambulance, put both arms up. Green dress, get the gate open and hold it open. Then I was on my knees on the asphalt, and I had my phone against my ear, and I was talking to my own building. Chester County. This is Rachel Delaney, 4417. I'm off duty. I need medic and engine to 742 Sawmill Road. The gravel entrance on the east side, not the main house. Male, 74, witnessed collapse. He's breathing, he's got a pulse, he's not tracking. I'll stay on. That last part is the part people never hear on television. I'll stay on. You do not hang up, ever. The line is the rope. There was a woman kneeling on the other side of him, a guest, and she said she had done this in a class once, years ago, and her hands were shaking so hard she could not find the spot. "Hands here," I said. "Straight arms, I'll count." And I counted, out loud, flat, on the beat, the way you do it so a person can lock onto something outside their own panic. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I did not raise my voice one time, not once. If your voice goes up, theirs goes up, and then nobody is working. Then Walter's eyes came open. That happens sometimes, and it is not gentle. He came up swinging at the air, gray, terrified, in a parking lot full of strangers in tuxedos, and he grabbed the front of my dress. I put my face down close to his ear. "Don't look at me," I said. "Look for the porch light." "What color is the light on your porch?" His mouth worked. "White," he said. "Good. How many steps up to it?" 3, he said. 3 steps. And he stayed with me all the way to the ambulance. I did not see Gordon Prescott until the medics were putting the cot in. He was standing about 12 feet away, in the gap between a car and the hedge. And he was not looking at his brother. He was looking at me. There was no blood left anywhere in his face. He took 1 step forward and stopped, and he said it loud enough that 4 or 5 people around him turned their heads. Wait. I know that voice. The ambulance backed out through a gate somebody was holding open, past a man at the road with both arms up in the air. and it was gone in under a minute. And then it was just 50 people in evening clothes standing in a gravel lot with nothing to do. That is when my hands started shaking. That is always when Vanessa came around the cars in her $9,000 gown. And her face was white, too, for an entirely different reason. What did you just turn my wedding into? I looked at her, and for the first time in 25 years, I did not answer her. What Gordon Prescott did in the next 12 minutes is the part I still get chills telling. Get subscribed before this next part, because you are going to want it in his own words. Here is what happened in those 12 minutes. I got most of it later, from Louise. Gordon Prescott went around behind the greenhouse where it was quiet and called the county communications center. The evening supervisor picked up. He needed to know who had been sitting at console 4 on the 9th of February 3 years ago, on a call out at the Sawmill Road culvert. Louise told him what she is required to tell him. The county does not release the names of telecommunicators. He said, I have the transcript. There's a badge number on it, 4417. And Louise, 27 years in that chair, said the only thing she could say without saying anything at all. Mr. Prescott, she's standing near you right now, isn't she? He did not need her to confirm it, and anyway, he had been carrying the proof in his pocket for 3 years. Any person in this state can request a copy of their own emergency call. He requested his 4 months after the accident, and he has listened to it once a year, every 9th of February, alone, in his truck. They cut the cake at 9:40. Then the band singer said the father of the groom wanted to say a few words, and the room put its glasses down, and Vanessa moved to the front and adjusted the fall of her gown, because this was the part she had built the whole evening around. The Prescott patriarch blessing his new daughter-in-law. Gordon took the microphone and he did not smile. Most of you know I was in a bad wreck 3 winters ago, he said. What most of you don't know is how long I was in that ditch. The room went quiet in that particular way, where you can hear the ice settle in the glasses. 51 minutes, he said. Upside down, in water. My leg pinned, my belt around my thigh because somebody told me to put it there. The crew couldn't find me. I couldn't tell them where I was. 51 minutes of nobody, except one person. He held up his phone. I never got a name. The county isn't allowed to give you one. All I have ever had is a piece of paper with a badge number on it, and I have carried that paper in my wallet every day since. Tonight I found her. Then he did the thing nobody in that room was ready for. He handed his phone to the sound man, and the sound man plugged it into the board. And Gordon Prescott played 40 seconds of his own emergency call over the speakers at his son's wedding. You could hear water. You could hear a man breathing wrong, fast and shallow and up in his throat. And then a woman's voice came out of those speakers, low, level, almost cold. If you didn't know what you were listening to, you're still talking to me. Gordon, don't look at the water. Look for the porch light. What color is the light on your porch? And a voice 3 years younger and half destroyed said, yellow. Every person in that tent had heard that exact voice out in the parking lot 40 minutes earlier. I have never heard a room do what that room did. It was not a gasp. It was the sound of 200 people inhaling at slightly different times. Gordon turned toward table 19. Her name is Rachel Delaney, he said. Rachel with an A. Delaney with 2 E's. The way it's spelled on the county commendation she never told any of you about. Then he looked back at the front of the room, at his son's new wife. 24 hours ago, somebody stood where I'm standing and told this room that she just answers phones. And I want to be fair, because that's technically accurate. The federal government files her job under clerical, same category as a secretary, same category as the man who dispatches taxis. He let that sit, so let me tell you what clerical means. It means being the only human being awake at 11 at night who knows I'm alive. It means finding a man in the dark, off a bad address, by asking him what he can hear. It means holding a stranger's mind together for 51 minutes so the rest of us have somebody left to pull out. Somewhere in the middle of the room, one person started clapping. Then it went up like a fire in dry grass, back to front, and the tent was standing. I did not stand. I could not make my legs do it. Margaret Prescott had come over and taken one of the empty chairs at table 19 somewhere during the recording, and she put her hand flat on the cloth next to mine, not touching it, just there. My father set his glass down and looked at me with an expression I had never seen on him. Not pride. Closer to the way you look at a stranger you should have recognized. And Wesley turned to his wife of 6 hours. "You told me she was sick," he said. His voice was not loud. In that silence it did not have to be. "You had me pitying her. You lied to me." The ovation collapsed into held breath. Vanessa's hands went up to her necklace, that flutter she has had since she was 12, the one she does when a lie is about to meet daylight. "Wesley, this is not the time. Did you tell my parents Rachel was mentally unwell?" "I was keeping it simple," she said. Margaret stood up from table 19. She did not raise her voice 1 decibel. "Simple," she said. "You invented an illness for the woman who kept my husband alive, so you could seat her by the kitchen door." My father took half a step forward and started to say something about blowing this out of proportion. Gordon cut him off without any effort at all. "Ray, your daughter made up a mental illness for your other daughter, to manage my family. That's not a proportion problem." Vanessa's tears arrived on schedule, fast and practiced. Diane reached for her, and Vanessa shoved her mother's hand off her arm, and her voice came apart into something with no performance left in it at all. "This is her fault," she said, and she pointed at me down the length of that tent. She was supposed to stay invisible. 120 people had laughed at her joke the night before. Every one of them heard that. Nobody wrote that line for her. Nobody coached it, which is exactly why it is the truest thing my stepsister has ever said out loud. Gordon found me out by the greenhouse an hour later and said he wanted to put my name on something. A fund, a scholarship, whatever I wanted built. I said no. Then I told him about a 20-year-old on a bathroom floor at 2:40 in the morning, and how I still know that kid's voice, and how there is nowhere in this county for a dispatcher to take that, because on paper we're clerical, and clerical does not get the money that goes to first responders for the part that comes home with you. "Put it there," I said, "not my name." He was quiet a while. Then he took out his wallet and pulled out a piece of paper worn soft along the folds, the ink gone gray at the creases. "Console 4, PST 4417. I carried a number around for 3 years," he said. "I didn't know your face and I didn't know your name. I just knew I was alive because of it." Vanessa apologized at 11:15, into the same microphone she had used the night before. It was 4 sentences long and it was thin as a napkin. Margaret asked her, from her chair, about the part where she invented an illness. And Vanessa had to say that out loud, too, in front of everybody. And I watched her composure crack like a hairline in porcelain. I did not go up there. I did not hug her. I did not say the words people wanted me to say, because forgiveness is not a reflex. It's a decision. And decisions deserve time. I looked at her across the tent and I nodded once. That was all. She passed me at the doors on her way out, close enough that nobody else heard it. "You always did know how to get a room," she said. "That is who she is. That is who she will be at Christmas." The week after went like this. The county fund was real. Louise got the call Monday at 9. 2 of my co-workers have used it already, and I am not going to tell you their names. The Prescotts put conditions on the house they had planned to help the couple buy. Vanessa's wedding photos went from 800 likes down under 100. Diane texted me Thursday. Not an apology. She wanted to know if I would put in a good word with Margaret, for Vanessa's sake, since I was in with them now. I did not answer it. My father sent a letter. Actual paper. Torn off a yellow legal pad. In handwriting I had to study for a second because I had never really seen it. He wrote about my graduation. He wrote about the Sundays. He put the word sorry on paper, in his own hand, for the first time in my life. I read it. I folded it. I put it in the drawer by my bed, and I have not written back. And that is not punishment. Some apologies need to sit a while before you can tell if they're seeds or just words. Monday night, I clipped on my badge, took console 4, put the earpiece in the right ear. Louise walked past and put a hand on my shoulder for a second and kept going. A rollover came in at 10:40 on Route 30, and the second that tone dropped, I forgot every single thing about that wedding. 911. What is the address of your emergency? 2 weeks later, a card came in the mail. Heavy cream paper, the kind that feels like real money. Thanksgiving, at a table on Sawmill Road. My name on the front. Spelled right, both E's. Inside, in pen, 4 words. Porch light's still on. It's on my refrigerator now, next to my shift calendar. Look, I am not going to hand you a life lesson here. I answer phones for a living. But if somebody in your life has ever put the word just in front of what you do, I want you to know that the word tells you everything about them and nothing about you. So here's what I want to ask you, and I want one word. Do you think my stepsister was actually sorry that night? Or was she only sorry she got caught? Type me one word down there. Sorry or caught. I read every single one of them.